Imagine a peaceful evening in a sleepy coastal town. The soft hum of the ocean breeze flows through the streets, a gentle reminder of the quiet rhythm of life by the sea. The sun is dipping below the horizon, bathing the town of Praia da Luz in golden light. But on May 3, 2007, this picturesque village would become the center of a tragedy that would haunt the world for years to come. At the Ocean Club Resort, a family vacation was meant to be a peaceful retreat, a time to relax and unwind. For the McCann family, it was supposed to be a time to reconnect. But that peaceful evening shattered when 3-year-old Madeleine McCann, a bright-eyed blonde girl with a smile that could light up a room, vanished without a trace. It was 10 p.m. when Kate McCann, a dedicated mother of 3, went to check on her children. What she found was enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. The door to their apartment was wide open. The bed, where her daughter Madeleine had been sleeping, was empty. Her heart raced, a sinking feeling of dread washing over her. The curtain swayed in the breeze, and her 2 younger children were still asleep in their cribs. But where was Madeleine? This is the story of the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, a case that would capture international attention and remain a mystery for over a decade. Before we dive deeper into this chilling investigation, I just want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our future uploads. We post true crime, suspense-filled stories every week, and each case is more shocking than the last. If you're new to the channel, be sure to catch up with our previous videos to immerse yourself fully in these gripping tales. Now, let's jump right back into our story. Praia da Luz is a small village located along the southern coast of Portugal, known for its idyllic setting and family-friendly atmosphere. For the McCann family, it seemed like the perfect place to escape the hustle and bustle of daily life. Kate and Gerry McCann, along with their 3 children, Madeleine and twin Sean and Amelie, arrived at the Ocean Club Resort on May 1, 2007, for what was supposed to be a week of relaxation. The family stayed in a rented apartment located near the resort's main pool. On the evening of May 3, 2007, the McCanns were enjoying a meal with a group of friends at a tapas restaurant located a short distance from their apartment. The couple had made arrangements to check on their children periodically throughout the evening. The children were sleeping soundly in their room, the door left ajar so that the parents could keep an eye on them. Around 9:30 p.m., Kate McCann made her first check. Madeleine was asleep in her bed. The twins, Sean and Amelie, were also asleep in their cribs. All was calm, and there was no sign of any danger. However, when Kate returned to the apartment just 30 minutes later, the room was empty and the door was wide open. It was a chilling sight. A sense of dread washed over her, and panic set in. Madeleine was gone. At first, Kate and Gerry assumed that perhaps Madeleine had wandered off. The couple began searching the apartment, opening cupboards and calling out for her. They checked the small patio in the nearby streets, but there was no sign of the little girl. The search quickly expanded to the rest of the resort, but nothing turned up. Kate McCann, frantic with worry, alerted the friends she and Gerry were dining with. The group of friends joined the search, combing the area and knocking on doors. They immediately contacted the local authorities, and the first wave of investigation began. When the local police arrived, the search intensified. But right from the start, things began to go wrong. The initial response was slow, and there were missteps in handling the evidence. Officers allowed people to enter the apartment without securing the crime scene, which led to concerns that vital clues may have been compromised. The police did not treat the case as a possible abduction right away, and instead focused on the possibility that Madeleine had simply wandered off or gotten lost. As news of Madeleine's disappearance spread, the case quickly captured international attention. The McCanns, their faces plastered on newspapers and television screens around the world, became the focal point of a media frenzy. Everyone had their theories, but the investigation was still struggling to make progress. 1. Theories of an abduction by a stranger. Early on, many believed that Madeleine had been abducted by a stranger. The apartment had been left unlocked, and the window was slightly ajar. Evidence suggested that the abductor had entered the apartment, taken Madeleine from her bed, and fled the scene without leaving much behind. Some witnesses later claimed to have seen a man carrying a child in the vicinity of the resort, though no concrete identification was made. The possibility that the abductor had planned the crime with precision, knowing when the parents would be away, remained a theory that many focused on. 2. The parents as suspects. A few days into the investigation, suspicion began to fall on the parents, Kate and Gerry McCann. The media coverage turned increasingly negative, and allegations of negligence were raised. Some argued that the parents were irresponsible for leaving their children unattended in the apartment while they dined at the restaurant. Investigators quickly began to question the McCanns, and at one point, the Portuguese police officially named them as suspects, or arguidos. The idea that the McCanns might have played a role in Madeleine's disappearance became a focal point, but there was no hard evidence linking them to the crime. 3. The Tapper 7. The group of friends who were dining with the McCanns also came under scrutiny. Each of the members of the group was questioned, as there were inconsistencies in some of their statements. The theory emerged that someone in the group might have known more about what happened that night than they were letting on. One of the friends, David Payne, became a focus of attention after reports surfaced suggesting he may have had a prior connection to the McCanns. However, no evidence was ever found linking him to the disappearance. 4. The breakthrough, a possible suspect. As the case dragged on, investigators were introduced to a new lead, Christian Bruickner, a German man with a criminal history. Bruickner had lived in the Algarve region at the time of Madeleine's disappearance, and in 2020, he became a primary suspect in the case. The investigation found that Bruickner had a history of sexual offenses, and some of his behaviors in the years following the disappearance seemed to suggest a connection to Madeleine's case. But despite the attention, no charges were brought against him. Throughout the investigation, the media played a pivotal role, shaping public perception of the case. In the early days, the McCanns received an outpouring of support from the British public and around the world. Fundraisers were launched, and posters bearing Madeleine's image were distributed globally. However, as the investigation dragged on, media coverage began to shift. The McCanns' every move was scrutinized. They were accused of negligence, and the public seemed divided on whether they were victims or perpetrators. This scrutiny only added to the emotional toll that the McCanns had to endure. On one hand, they were grateful for the public support in their search for Madeleine, but on the other hand, they found themselves constantly battling against the negative press. For the McCanns, it seemed as though their lives had become a spectacle for the world to watch, with the tragedy of losing their daughter at the center of it all. The role of the media in the case is something that has been heavily debated. Some argue that it kept Madeleine's story alive, bringing awareness to the case and pushing the investigation forward. Others believe that it undermined the investigation, with sensationalized headlines and a focus on conjecture instead of facts. Several key questions remained unanswered in the years that followed Madeleine's disappearance. These lingering mysteries fueled public debate and made the case even more compelling. The missing pajamas. One of the most puzzling aspects of the case was the discovery that Madeleine's pajamas were missing. Some speculated that the abductor had undressed her before taking her, but there was no explanation as to why this was the case. Was it part of a ritual, or did the pajamas serve some symbolic purpose to the abductor? The absence of any explanation for this strange detail left investigators and the public alike scratching their heads. The cadaver dogs. In 2007, cadaver dogs were brought in to assist with the investigation. These specially trained dogs indicated the scent of human remains in several locations, including inside the McCann's apartment and the rental car they had used. Some believe that these findings indicated that Madeleine had died inside the apartment, though there was no concrete evidence to support this theory. Despite the dog's findings, the McCanns maintained their innocence. The coded message. Investigators discovered a letter written by one of the Tapper 7, which seemed to contain cryptic and coded language. While it was never officially declared to be suspicious, the contents of the letter raised questions about whether someone had more information than they were letting on. Was this a clue that could unlock the mystery, or simply a badly worded note? In 2013, the case was reopened by British authorities, who were frustrated with the lack of progress. With new resources, a fresh team of investigators, and advanced forensic methods, new leads emerged. A German national, Christian Bruickner, became the new focal point. Bruickner, who had a history of sexual offenses and was living in the Algarve at the time of Madeleine's disappearance, was questioned extensively. But despite intense scrutiny, no formal charges were brought against him. The investigation into his involvement continues. Over a decade has passed since Madeleine McCann vanished from Praia da Luz, but the questions surrounding her disappearance remain unanswered. No one knows for sure what happened to her that fateful night in 2007. Was she taken by a stranger? Did someone in the group of friends know more than they let on? Or was there an entirely different explanation that no one has yet uncovered? As we reflect on the case of Madeleine McCann, we are left with more questions and answers. Despite years of investigation, the truth remains elusive. The search for justice continues, and the McCanns' fight to find their daughter is far from over. What do you think happened to Madeleine McCann? Do you believe the authorities are getting closer to finding out the truth, or is this case doomed to remain unsolved? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to keep following this ongoing mystery. And thank you for watching.